Bolts Nation, welcome back to another edition of the Bolts Block Party. I am your host, Greg Wolf, joined by my buddy, Braden Coburn, and we are excited to have this gentleman joining us here today, Conor Sheary, not pronounced Sheary, as I think a lot of people say. And is that also because, you know, being in Massachusetts, that whole area, Sheary sounds like Sheary? Is that kind of, because I'm just trying to make sure that our fans know it's properly pronounced Sheary, not Sheary.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I don't know how it's spelt Sheary, so it's understandable that people say that. But yeah, Sheary is the appropriate term.
Did you call him Sheary or Sherry?
I called him something else on the ice when we played against each other.
And we'll get to that.
It had nothing to do with his name, but...
Two-time Stanley Cup champ with the Penguins, 2016-27, which was actually your first two seasons in the league. I mean, the bar has been set so high, you know, as a player coming into a system where the first 2 years you win the Stanley Cup. What does that do for your confidence? And, you know, again, I mean, it's not every day that your first two seasons you win the Stanley Cup, right? So how does that set the bar for you as a player moving forward after those two seasons?
It's hard to follow up on that. I think we obviously won back-to-back, which was pretty special, but I don't think it's till about this point in my career where you realize how hard it actually is to do that.
Right.
I mean, I've missed playoffs at this point. I've been bumped in the first round, but when we were in the moment, it was just, I think we won like 9 playoff series in a row, and it was just like we went into every series thinking we were going to win, and it was pretty cool. But being a younger guy, it was ignorance is bliss kind of attitude. We were just playing games, and I mean, I'd only had 40 career regular season games, and I won a cup. So it was like I had no idea what I was getting into and how lucky or fortunate I was to be in that situation. But, you know, looking back on it, those experiences have helped me incredibly.
Are you thinking, like, maybe I can get, like, 10 cups? Like, maybe I can set a record here? Like, how many can I get?
I played with so Kunitz was on the team, and he won his fourth. So I was like, oh, Kunitz got 4? Like, but then you're like I said, I haven't even been close since. I haven't been to the second round. So it's, you know, it's really hard to do that.
So you mentioned Kunitz. I got a great story about him because he came to, when I was first in the league, I played with the Atlanta Thrashers. And
Old school.
Old school, yeah, old school. Not even a team anymore.
Nope.
Yeah, as my kids like to tell me. But he came to us on waivers in Atlanta and stuck around for 2 weeks, kind of bag skated with me a little bit. And then the next thing you know, he went back to Anaheim. They won a cup that year.
Right.
Near the end of his career, ends up with 4 cups. It's just kind of bizarre to me. And he was just an amazing teammate. I'm sure you felt the same way, but for him to end up with 4 cups, it just kind of shows that sometimes you got to be in the right spot at the right time. But there's people that are just winners.
Absolutely.
And they have the makeup that makes them winners. And obviously you added some parts of that theme. You had a huge goal in the Stanley Cup final in overtime.
Yeah.
Like, is that the biggest goal of your career to this moment?
I mean, it has to be. I mean, yeah, just being, like I said, I was a rookie, and I didn't score in the 2 previous series, and then I scored in game 1 of the final. So then I kind of grew some confidence from that and was able to score the overtime winner, and that put us up 2-0 at that point to go to San Jose. And that feeling I had was, I've watched that goal many times since.
I love the smile on your face. It's just you're thinking about it. I can see you thinking about it, and your smile is just getting bigger and bigger.
And it was hard from where I was to actually see it go in, but I remember seeing Sid was behind the net, and he threw his arms up, and I was just like, oh, my gosh, this is that's pretty cool.
Well, let's rewind a little bit. Let's go back to the beginning. You were undrafted as a player, and now you're in your 8th season, but you played college at the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. And, you know, listening to some other podcasts and things that you've been on about that whole time, you know, at the beginning of your career, talk to us about how playing at the University of Massachusetts, that whole situation for you getting on the team. Your coach had pushed you to be the best player on the team. There was a podcast I was listening to where you thought in one particular game you had 2 goals. You thought you were playing excellent, but then you came off the ice and your coach was like, totally did not have the same vibe that you did. So talk to us about that development and playing in college.
That's never happened to me, by the way. Never happened to
me. and being undrafted and to be sitting here with us today, I mean, it's a pretty remarkable run.
Yeah, so that story was Red Gendron, who tragically passed away recently. But when I was in high school, I was playing at Cushing Academy, and he came to one of my games. And I think I had like 2-1, and I was like feeling really good. We won the game, and he pulls me into the office. He tells me like what I was doing away from the puck that I wasn't doing properly, I guess. And he was kind of telling me, he's like, you're in high school, you're going to be on the first line, you're going to be the best player on your team, blah, blah, blah. But when you get to the next level, it's going to be a lot harder. Mm-hmm. And that was so eye-opening for me. As a senior in high school, I thought I was like the best player in the world, like playing against, high school kids. And then I had him at UMass, and like I said, he was a great mentor for me. He was hard on guys, but he was reasonable about it, and he knew when to push your buttons, and yeah, he was a great coach for me.
Beautiful.
Sweet. Hey, you're not the only one that's allowed to rewind here.
Okay.
I want to keep going back. You mentioned Cushing Academy.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that place, because it's kind of been a little bit of a hockey hotbed. There's been guys. I know Bogo. He was one of the guys that he played there. How'd you end up there? What was that whole experience like?
Yeah, so a lot of people aren't familiar with prep school. If you're not from New England, it's kind of a big thing. Sure. But my older sister, she's 4 years older than me. She went to Cushing. Ended up playing at UNH after that. But I always, I went to all our games. I loved the campus. Like, I thought it was so cool. And I got the opportunity to go there. And, I didn't make the team my freshman year. I think Keith Yandel spoke on it recently on some sort of podcast or something. But, like, there's guys that go in there that just expect to play right away. And It just doesn't happen. You got to, earn your way. And like I said, I wasn't on the varsity my freshman year. My sophomore year, I didn't play very much. And then junior and senior year, that's kind of when I shot up and got noticed. But,
Shot up as in height?
No, definitely not height. Come on.
Not so much. Yeah.
I mean, I was 5'1" my freshman year, so I shot up to 5'8",
Okay.
which is,
Nice.
I guess you can say that. But, yeah, no, there's just kind of a culture around Cushing that the hockey program has built. And, we've produced players for a long time, especially at the Division I level, and obviously a few pro guys.
You mentioned your sister. And, the impact that she had on you and the game of hockey at a young age. And did she win Coach of the Year? Like, was that something recently or was that like?
She won. Again, she coached prep school, and her team won the championship.
For that. But talk to us about that dynamic and how she really was the one that got you into the game of hockey.
Yeah, it's like being 4 years. I have two sisters. One's 7 years older, and one's 4 years older. So, growing up, like, you're not really that close until a certain age. Sure. And once we got to, like, high school and college, we started working out together. So we started to become a lot closer with each other. And, at this point, it's really cool because she still coaches. She's still part of the game. And she watches all my games, obviously. So we get to talk about that a lot. And she'll bounce things off me. She wants drills and things like, what are you guys doing to overcome this or when this happens? So, we have a great, relationship, her and I. And we talk a lot about hockey and a lot about other stuff too, but
sure.
It's nice to, have her around.
Does she critique you or chirp you? Like, how does that go? Like, I feel like my sister chirping me would be kind of just like push me over the edge a little bit, but you might have a different relationship.
Yeah, no, she definitely does a little bit, but not too much. She was a defenseman and I forward, obviously. So she'll tell me she's the best defender in the family. I'll tell you that.
And your dad, he was a basketball player. Is that right?
Yeah, he never played hockey. So, yeah, he played basketball growing up. And
he didn't push it towards basketball or as a young – I mean, if that was his sport, he didn't be like, hey, son, this is where you need to go?
Yeah, I don't really remember. Ever since I can remember, I was, like, wearing skates around the house. So I don't know if it was my sister that I looked up to because she was playing or what it was. But, every sport was on TV at my house. So it wasn't like – just hockey. We were watching basketball, baseball, hockey, football. Everything was always on TV. So I think I was just an athlete, and hockey was the one that jumped out to me.
We've got to thank our friends from Jai Alai for powering the Bolts block party here. We've got Conor Sheary, who is joining us. And let's talk real quick. I mean, we're talking about females, right, and hockey and how the game has grown tremendously in the female world. Talk to us a bit about how you have seen the game grow, obviously with your sister being involved in the coaching level, but just to see the growth of the sport on the female level, on an international level, looking at the Olympics. Team USA was actually here in Tampa. They trained at the Advent Health Center in Wesley Chapel when they were training for the Olympics. So, again, to see it grow here in the South. But from your perspective, how have you seen the game change from the female perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it's been great. In the media side of it, it's getting so much coverage now, which I think is great. Because obviously they're high class athletes and they deserve the credit that they're getting. But My sister did actually coach the Boston Pride last year, which is the pro team in Boston, but they, did the realignment, and there's new teams now, so she's not working with them anymore. But just, I would tune in sometimes to the games just to see how she was doing. But it's cool just to see that they have a pro league and they're getting paid, and each year it seems like they're getting a little bit more credit, a little bit more salary, and, just ways to grow the game is great. When I was growing up, I always went to my sister's game, so I knew hockey was relevant up north, but maybe, down here wasn't as much. So hopefully get more eyes on it and get more people watching, and it'll grow the game even more.
So after your sister was done, she caught the coaching bug. Is that something you ever think about, or is that an avenue you ever think about, like post-hockey?
Yeah, I think so. I do, I love the game. I love being around it. I don't know. I'm on the quieter side most of the time, so I don't know how effective a coach I would be, but, people get their point across in different ways. So
see, I read Tony Dungy's book.
I was just
and he was like a really quiet coach, and one of the most successful NFL coaches year round. So I think there's ways around it for sure, and I think it depends on the message.
Yeah,
is the message something that everybody wants to hear, and is it clear? I think that makes the whole difference. So there's hope for you, buddy.
There's some psychological aspects to coaching. I mean, Cooper's probably one of the best, right, when it comes to that psychological aspect of coaching. You speak from experience, so same to you. Does he have more of that psychological aspect of his coaching?
Yeah, but he can get on you.
We know that,
right? Get on you.
Well, your number 73 and 43, obviously you've played with both. Where did those two number choices come from? Obviously 73 here, but where did those two come from?
Completely out of nowhere. When I got to training camp in Pittsburgh, I was given 43, and like I said, we won the cup, so I had to stick with it.
Sure.
And then I moved on to Buffalo, wore 43. When I got to Washington, Tom Wilson was wearing 43, so I had to change. And it was literally like the only number that was below, like, I don't know. It was like the lowest number I could get. It was like,
and it just stuck.
Yeah, it just stuck. I didn't mind it. So
I actually have a question about Tom Wilson, but that's for Fact or Fiction, presented by Jai Alai. And just a little bit, locker room name. I mean, your name already ends with an E, right? So Kobe, like Wolfie, Sheary is your last name. What's the locker room name for you?
Just Shears.
Shears.
Yeah. Shears.
Like scissors.
If he was from Saskatchewan, it'd be like Shersky, I feel like that's
Saskatoon boys.
Yeah. That's right. You throw a ski on anything.
Yeah, skis have been put at the end of my
You've you've bounced around. I mean, it's got to have also been a little bit difficult to get situated in any one city. Let's just rewind real quick. You played with the Penguins 2015 to 16 season through 2018, then 2018-19 to Buffalo, then back to Pittsburgh in 2020, then to the Capitals at the end of 2020 for 3 years, now to the Bolts. How difficult is that for you, and especially now being a family man? I mean, your kids are younger, but how difficult, and we've talked to other players as well, but for you, how difficult was that transition bouncing from one city to the next so quickly too?
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I mean, I felt like I was in Pittsburgh forever. So the fact that I was only there for 4 years or 3 years is surprising. But yeah, it's hard to bounce around. And when I was in Buffalo, it didn't really go my way with the team or personally, and I knew I needed to get out of there. So I think once I landed in Washington, I was really happy with where I was. That's a great team, a great city, and I really thought I was going to stay there for a lot longer. So I was sad to leave, but I was super excited to come to Tampa, a team that had won so much and had so much success, and a team that was interested in me. So, hopefully I can stick around here a little longer and I won't have to move every couple of years.
Sure. So one of the things that always stuck out about playing against you was you're just, you were a competitor out there. You were annoying. You were kind of like, you're a hard forechecker. You're all over the place. And very similar to Glendening. So we talked to Glendening. He was a walk-on to Michigan, tryout in Grand Rapids. You went to Wilkes-Barre on a tryout, and nothing's been given to you.
Yeah.
Is that kind of cultivated a chip on your shoulder your whole career?
I'd say definitely, yeah. And when I was coming into the league, smaller guys weren't as, prevalent as they are now. There's smaller guys everywhere. You got guys like Johnny Gaudreau who kind of broke the seal, and since then, guys are getting drafted all the time. It doesn't matter about that. So I always felt like I had to work harder because I was smaller than guys.
Sure.
But I'm not going to be the most skilled guy on the ice. I'm not going to have the best shot. I'm not going to make the best passes. But if I can outwork you, I have an advantage at you. And I always approach each game and each year with that attitude. And, it's helped me get to this point, so it's got to have something to do with it. But I think my work ethic is my number one asset, and I use it as much as I can.
So what would you say then about your game that has allowed you to work so well with top-line guys like Ovechkin, Crosby, obviously Stammer, Kucherov, and something that maybe you've learned or taken away from playing with guys like Crosby and Ovechkin?
Yeah, it's crazy how different they all are and how I was able to play with all of them. I think, Sid's a grinder himself. So when I first got to Pittsburgh, I learned a lot from him on like how to play in the corners, how to be a defender, how to get, the low man wins kind of mentality. And then Ovi's kind of not perimeter, but he tries to find his shooting lanes. And but at the end of the day, if you can get the puck to those guys, that's when they're happy, and that's what makes them successful is when they have the puck on their stick. And I felt like I learned that pretty quickly, that if I can go get a puck and retrieve it and give it to those guys and let them make the play, it's going to make my job easier and their job easier. So I think that's part of the reason it's worked out for me.
So I know you haven't been here very long, but those two other teams in Pittsburgh and Washington, they have winning cultures. They've had winning cultures for a very long time.
Yep.
What is about those places? Are they different? Is Pittsburgh much different than Washington than they are to Tampa Bay? Like, what's the difference between cultures in these dressing rooms?
Yeah, the crazy part is the rooms are all very different, and I think that starts with the leaders, and that's not a bad thing. It's just how the team goes about their business, like when they're drinking, when they're not, what you're doing on the road, that kind of thing. Like it's all just very different for everywhere you go. But I think when you approach each game in all those places I've been and here, it's all approached the same way. When I experienced Buffalo, and I don't want to bash on Buffalo because I have great friends and great teammates there, but it just felt like at one game we would be on and the next game would be off. And with other teams, you don't feel like you have an off night all the time. Maybe once in a while, but you still find a way to win. And when you build momentum and you start to play well for a few games, I think those teams are really good at maintaining that and doing it for a long period of time. So I think that's something I've learned and I've seen throughout my career so far.
I think that's like a growing thing, right? I think Pittsburgh, if I think back to early when Sid first got to Pittsburgh, they went through those experiences. And same with Washington. They were kind of near the bottom of the league. Right. Same with this team here. When Stammer and Hetty first showed up, there was a lot of growing that these teams had to take. So that makes total sense to me and something that, it's great that you're in this dressing room to kind of contribute and tie in all those different cultures and bring it into this dressing room this year.
Yeah, definitely. And, when I got to Pittsburgh, when I got to Washington, that culture was already built. Same thing here. So taking those experiences and now I kind of have to be not an older guy, but I'm a little bit more of a veteran guy now. Sure. And like I said before, I'm not like the most outspoken guy, but if I can just, maybe show on the ice a little bit of what I can do and how I can help the team, maybe that'll filter down. And, I take pride in that.
When you got that original call, from your agent and Tampa was, on the roster, so to speak, for teams that were interested in you, what did you already know about Tampa and the culture and the organization? Because obviously, I'm sure when you got that call, you're like, oh, the team that just won a couple Stanley Cups, just like I did back in 2016 and 17. Like, what was that original, that instance when that happened and you got that call? Take us back to that.
Yeah, I think my eyes lit up. My wife was on speakerphone with me, and I looked at her and I was like, okay, Tampa, that sounds pretty good. Because they were, like, to be honest, they were nowhere near my radar. I just thought cap situation, it wouldn't work out. So I was super excited that they called and were interested. And yeah, I didn't know much. I've known a couple guys come through here, but not a whole lot, to be honest. And,
sure.
But everyone that I did play with, Cooney being one of them, Ian Cole, those guys reached out to me and were just not through the wives usually, but they reached out and just said how much they loved it here. So
who did you know?
So excited.
Who did you know coming into the dressing room? Did you know anybody? Like, had you played with anybody beforehand?
No, just I played with Bogo, who's now been traded, but I played with him in Buffalo for a bit.
That's tough.
I mean,
that's tough. That's not easy.
So obviously you've been in Tampa a little while now. We saw your New and Blue episode with Gabby Shirley, and one of the things that you mentioned was when you get to Newtown, it's pretty much I know how to get from my house to the rink. So have you been able to learn anything about our city or been able to get out and enjoy some of the things that Tampa Bay has to offer now that you've been here a little while?
I definitely know more of the roads.
Okay,
no,
that's good.
I have two kids at home, so it's hard to get out too often. We finally found babysitters, so my wife and I are going to start to venture out because we're big foodies. But
nice.
We do a lot of Uber Eats. We've tried a lot of different places. But yeah, we try to my wife's been to the beach a couple times, so she experienced that. We just try to, find our spots here and there where we can.
And Tampa is a huge food city. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many places to try and craft beer places. I mean, if you're a foodie, this is definitely the city for you.
So, like, all over, like, what kind of foods are we talking about here? Are we just talking about, like just try everything?
I mean, I think this might be a generic answer, but Italian is just number one for me, I think. My wife loves sushi, so we got to find her a good spot
There's
for
so
that.
many good ones, too.
A rainbow roll with a chicken parmesan.
There's lightning rolls, depending on the sushi place you go to. They've named some rolls after our team, and it's pretty awesome. The 1905 salad you had at the Columbia, that is a world-renowned salad. Did you like it? I mean,
it was
the
good.
Cuban sandwich is amazing there, too.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was all good.
Columbia. Have you been to the Columbia yet?
Yeah, I've been.
It's probably one of the
Columbia,
best restaurants in the city. I mean, it's world famous. I mean, you should have, I would say, be there a few times. Another thing that we've learned about hockey players is their love for golf and playing golf. You a big golf guy?
Yeah, huge golf guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you been able to get out on any links yet, or no? Obviously, with the hand situation, probably not. But
unfortunately, not recently. But we played a couple times during the preseason and at the beginning of the year.
Who'd you play with?
Like everyone. We went to Orlando for like a team trip, so we had like 15 guys play, and then I don't know. You bounce around with a bunch of different.
What is the love for golf with hockey players? I feel like more than any sport, it's the hockey players that gravitate to the golf game.
I think the seasons match up really nice. The off season, it's something you can do that's kind of just away from the game.
Okay.
I don't know what it is.
Is it the competition? Is it the fact that it's such a difficult game to play? I mean, what's your opinion on that? Why hockey players?
I mean,
gravitate
the
to golf?
swing probably translates easily.
Okay.
I don't know.
Hand-eye coordination for sure. Yeah.
That might help. I don't know why it is, but I love golf, and I have a lot of teammates that love it.
So
as well.
I read one of your friends, your good friends. They were talking about you. They were glowingly saying all this amazing stuff about you. So you got some good friends.
Must have been a good
But they said one of the most annoying things about you was you're good at everything. And they said, and baseball. You played baseball in high school. You led the team in batting average, runs, stolen bases. You kind of have a flair for the athletics and almost all spheres of. So what brought you to hockey? Was hockey always number one, or was baseball ever on the radar, or where does athleticism come from?
Yeah, like I said, like growing up, I did all sports. So I was just like, whatever was being played, I was trying to do it. So hockey was definitely always number one. I always gravitated towards, playing hockey, street hockey, whatever it was. But baseball was probably number two and not far behind. I love baseball. Mm-hmm. When I got to high school, they stuck me in the outfield because my arm wasn't strong enough. They thought I couldn't turn a double play, which was really... That upset me a lot. Sure. But I could bat and I could run, so I led off, and like you said, I had a lot of stolen bases and things like that.
There's that chip on the shoulder right there. He's still grinding about it. They threw me in the outfield.
Yeah,
still grinding on it.
That coach, I know he might have ruined my baseball career. Who knows?
Well, congrats on dad life, by the way. And speaking of multiple sports and things of that nature, I want to find out first how being a dad maybe has changed your perspective on things, but also, what are your thoughts on kids playing a singular sport as opposed to, like you just said, you played multiple sports growing up, which may have helped you become and develop to be a better athlete. But there are some that also feel that you start them at a young age and you grind them into that one particular sport so that they can hopefully go pro. Yeah. Do you share that sentiment, or do you believe that it is important for kids to play all different sports to really kind of find their way?
I definitely think that you should play as many sports as you can. That's just my feeling on things. I also think if you want your kid to go to the NHL, if you're starting when he's 8, I don't know if that's the right
mentality.
Right. Yeah. For me, of course, I don't know. Other people might have different opinions, but I think I didn't think I was going to make it to the NHL until I got to college. So if I'm starting when I'm 10, I might get burnt out by the time I get there. So. I don't know. I'll parent my kids and let them do what they want. Maybe they don't even want to do athletics, but sure. I would obviously love them to. And it's hockey especially, but I'm not going to push anything. And we'll see. They're so young now. I don't know what they're going to be interested in. I don't know if they're going to be athletic. I'm not sure, but I'll let them do what they want and try to get them in as many sports as possible.
Same way about
absolutely
making sure kids get well-rounded.
Absolutely, I think it's super important and something that. Maybe needs to be talked about a little bit more.
Sure.
I know it's out there a little bit, but I think there's this push to professionalize our kids at a very, very young age.
Yeah.
But let's let's live in a hypothetical world here. Your kids love hockey, and they're saying, "Dad, who should I watch? Who should I model my game after? Who are you telling them?"
Oh, there's
you excluded, obviously.
Yeah, watch my highlights. No, I mean, I'll try to stray away from like the superstars because there's so many of them that do otherworldly things that might not be possible. But a guy I played with in Washington was TJ Oshie, and he's maybe is a superstar, but he works so hard away from the puck and to get the puck, and he has so much skill. I think his game is just awesome. He's physical. He's skilled. He can score goals. He can make plays. He's a leader. I think all the things that he does is a guy I would watch for sure.
Injuries, obviously they happen. It's part of the game.
Yep.
You obviously got yourself injured as well this early into the season. How does that adversity maybe affect your outlook, or how do you adjust? Obviously, again, you're a new guy to the team. You get injured early in the season. The mindset for you, how do you adjust in situations like this?
Yeah, it's hard. I obviously hate being injured. Last year I played 82 games for the first time in my career, so this year coming in and getting hurt this early kind of stinks, and especially on a new team. You want to contribute, you want to be out there. It's hard watching them, especially on the road, not being around the guys. But my adjustment is just, go to the gym, do the things you need to do, try and get back as soon as possible, and control what you can. It's hard coming in early and getting treatment and working out, but those are the things you got to do to be a pro and stay ready. And so when you get your chance to get back in there, you're ready.
How do you feel? You feel good? I mean,
yeah, it's getting there. Yeah, it's getting. I mean, it's good as it can be, I guess. Right.
Okay.
So a lot of people listening will say, okay, you got an issue with upper body, okay? Upper body injury.
Yeah, it's so annoying, but we get it.
And what do you do for rehab? Like, are you skating, just not holding a stick, or shooting, or are you just exclusively working out with your legs? Like, what do you do to keep yourself ready that when the time comes when your upper body's healed, that you're back in the lineup?
Yeah. So right now I can't go on the ice. I have to let it heal a little bit. So a lot of bike stuff. There's different things in the gym that you can do that you don't have to, I don't know, expose your injury to lift things up or whatever, because it is a hand injury. It's hard to lift weights, but I'm just doing. There's safety bars that you can squat with that you don't put too much pressure in your hand, and there's different ways to pick up dumbbells and stuff I don't know. There's just a lot of different things, but you just try and get stronger while you can, and you don't want to lose your muscle mass while you're sitting out.
All right, so we're almost.
Hold on, I got one more thing.
Okay, I was going to get into fact or fiction.
I'm ready. I know when you're getting ready for fact or fiction. I just know it. I can feel the tempo. We've done enough of these together now that I can feel this fact or fiction coming up. So I had one more I got to get in there real quick.
Hit me with it.
So talked about your kids, but you kind of have some other kids, and I noticed this on the internet. Am I getting this right? The fluffiest brother?
Oh, gosh.
The fluffiest brothers?
The Fluff brothers, yeah.
What is, well, I kind of know what the fluffiest brother, but let you explain to us. What is the fluffiest brothers?
The Fluff brothers.
The Fluff brother. There we go. I had it wrong.
So I can't take any credit for that. They're my two little dogs, very manly Pomeranians that I have at home. But so when I started dating my wife, we've been together for 15 years or so. She had a Pomeranian. He's 5 pounds, and we eventually, when we started living together, we acquired Brady. So he needed a friend. We got Louie, and Louie is now our second dog.
Brady after Tom?
Brady after Tom.
And there's like a whole Instagram page for these guys?
Yeah, I don't know how active they are now. That was more of like a college phase. We were trying to get them it was right when social media, Instagram was like blowing up. We were trying to get them a big following.
I have to admit, I had a Pomeranian. Me and my wife had a Pomeranian.
Okay.
Celine.
Yeah. Oh, Celine.
Celine.
After Dion?
No. We do name all our dogs after Patrick Swayze movie characters, but Celine, obviously didn't get named after a Patrick Swayze movie character. So great dogs. Pomeranians, amazing dogs.
Yeah, I have to touch on that one.
They're very loud, which is a big downfall. Anytime the door opens, it's
lots of attitude. They got attitude.
But they do. They are loving dogs, so they're nice to sit on the couch with.
Your Fluff brothers are right here. All right, so it is time to get into fact or fiction presented by Jai Alai with Conor Sheary. Now, here's the deal. It's pretty much a true or false. So we'll throw it at you. You tell us if it's fact or if it's fiction. So let's start with the first one. You once had a rage tweet to United Airlines because they broke a wheel on your stroller.
Fact.
I actually found that one deep on the Twitterverse. He literally got pissed at United because I guess they were traveling and you could tell the story. I mean, what happened?
Well, I didn't
there?
know if I got a rebuttal or if I could only say fact or fiction.
You could say fiction or fact in this one, but tell us what happened there.
Yeah, it was that was frustrating because it was bye week and my daughter was still young enough that we needed the stroller.
Yep.
And when they put it on the plane, they broke the wheel off of it. So we had a whole vacation week and we didn't have a stroller. So
and
I was carrying it with 3 wheels on and holding the other side up. It was just
dad life.
Wolfie, how do you find that?
That's
That's just like
job.
one of those things.
Listen, we're not done yet. There's more.
Oh, yeah.
There's more.
You got some
Here we
contacts with the airlines? Or
Yes,
like,
I know people that know me, and I know them. All right,
Yeah.
next one up. The hit that Tom Wilson put on you, which was knee to knee in the 2016 playoffs, should have been a penalty.
oh, come on. That's an ex-teammate. You're going to do that to me?
It's fact or fiction. I mean, I watched the tape
You say should have been a
numerous
penalty?
times. Should the hit that Tom Wilson put on you knee to knee in the 2016 playoffs, should that have been a penalty?
Yes, and we've had
Fact.
conversations about it. He agrees that it should have been a penalty.
Fact. Okay. You don't know. Yeah, you don't remember that one, do you? I mean, I watched the tape.
Tom Wilson doing something dirty.
Thank you.
It's a shocker
Fact.
to me. Shocker
Okay.
to me.
Dessert is a must for you after any meal, especially brownies.
Fact.
These are all facts, man. I'm reeling off the facts today. That's 3 straight
I feel like
facts.
you're setting me up for something.
Nope, not setting you up. All right, well, maybe. Maybe. Next one. Fact or fiction. Your drink of choice to swig out of the Stanley Cup is a Mai Tai sipped with a straw.
You did do some research.
I mean,
Fact-
it had to be your drink of choice.
Yeah, not drink of choice. Fiction on drink of choice, but
Okay.
fact it did happen.
It did happen.
And it did happen out of a straw. I saw the video. I saw the video.
Why the straw? Why didn't you just pick it up and chug it?
Well, this is actually, it's kind of a short in the story. It's so I had my day with the cup and we went golfing. We played 9 holes, and then after I didn't have a plan. We just had a party that night. So we went to this local Chinese food restaurant in my town. It's like,
Great place to go with the
yeah,
cup.
it's horrible in there, honestly. But we just asked the guy. We brought it in, and we were like, "Hey, can you just fill it to the top with Mai Tai?"
Yeah.
And he did. And then after we were watching it, and he's like, "What? Did you win fantasy football or something? No idea what the Stanley Cup was. He had no idea what it meant or anything. So that was a pretty cool story.
Hilarious. Okay.
I love that.
Plain M&Ms are your favorite rink snack of choice.
False.
What is your favorite rink snack of choice?
Rink snack?
Rink snack of choice, because there's a lot of things in the rink, but
Well, peanut M&Ms.
peanut, not plain. Just
Would
wanted
be-
to make sure we clarified that one.
Yeah.
All right. The next one is the final one. Your first game in the NHL was against the Bruins, and you scored a goal against Tuukka Rask that was actually assisted by Crosby, and he gave you an autographed stick after the game.
Fiction.
Okay, so what is wrong in that story?
The game 2.
Okay. See, I had little details to see if he caught it.
I will give you my first 2 games were against the Bruins,
Okay.
1 and 2. So game 2, all that happened. Yes.
Game 2, not 1. But that was close. So those are mainly all facts. Just a couple that were fiction.
I like how you try to trip him up.
I tried, but I wanted to see how much he knew that he said back in the day. So pretty good though for the fact or fiction.
I feel like you don't want to make him mad. He'll hate
No.
you forever.
Yeah, no,
he'll have a little a little vendetta against you.
Well, listen, Connor, we know you've got some rehab and stuff to do, and of course, Kobe, myself, the Lightning Audio team. We thank you very much for taking the time with us, and we thank our friends at Jai Alai for once again powering another awesome episode of the Bolts Block Party. We hope to see this guy on the ice soon. Kobe, thanks so much for joining us, and Connor, thank you.
Heal up.
Heal up.
Thanks,
Heal
guys.
up.
It was fun.
Talk to you guys soon, right here on the Bolts Block Party.